On occasion, new masonry walls have collapsed. In most cases, the cause of these incidents was due to the lack of proper bracing of the walls during the mortar curing process. Without a proper brace, either a brisk wind or a shift in the weight of the wall could cause the collapse. In some cases, either the bracing was removed too soon or the bracing was too weak or poorly constructed. Although bracing may seem like an afterthought to some contractors, a sturdy, properly constructed bracing system is a critical part of the masonry construction project. OSHA has developed standards for bracing masonry walls for the protection of masons and tenders. Job-specific requirements for wall bracing may also be included in the blueprints and documents for a project. The OSHA standard covers the maximum spacing in feet between vertical braces. It takes into account the wall thickness and the wind speed at the construction site to determine how closely the vertical braces should be spaced. As a rule of thumb, the spacing between braces and feet should be less than 1.5 times the wall thickness in inches. As an example, for a wall being built with 8-inch block, the horizontal spacing between braces should be 12 feet. That's 8 times 1.5, or 12. Remember that most masonry walls will require bracing to be installed on both sides of the wall. A typical masonry wall brace should include a vertical member, an inclined strut, stakes, and if necessary, a strut brace. A vertical member is the piece placed upright against the wall. It is usually a scaffold plank or a 2x10. An inclined strut is the piece placed on a diagonal that provides support from the vertical member to the stakes. Again, this is usually a scaffold plank or a 2x10. The inclined strut is typically placed at a 30° to 45° angle to the ground. The stakes are the anchor point of the ground that gives the bracing its strength. 2 2x4s should be used at each stake location. Do not use steel stakes, rebar, or 2x2s because they have less horizontal load carrying capacity and are not as strong as the 2x4s. The 2x4 stakes should be embedded at least 12 inches into the soil, preferably 18 inches if possible. For inclined struts longer than 8 feet, a 2x4 or 2x6 strut brace should be installed. This brace is attached to the inclined strut and increases the load carrying capacity of the strut. It also helps to prevent failure due to buckling of the inclined strut. Ask the supervisor where the first brace needs to be set. Then gather all the tools and materials needed for constructing the wall brace and bring them to the bracing area. Assembling the brace is a job for at least 2 workers. First, make a mark where a cleat will be placed on the vertical member. Then stand it up against the wall and plumb it with a level. The strut should be long enough to reach from the center mark on the vertical member to the ground, placed at approximately a 45° angle. Nail the inclined strut to the vertical member at the halfway mark and place and nail stakes at the ground behind it to secure it in place. For extra support, you can also nail a piece of wood stripping above the strut where it fastens to the vertical member. If you're bracing a wall side that has a concrete floor, you can use kickers in place of stakes. If you're working with inclined struts longer than 8 feet, use a strut brace. Use a piece of 2x4 or 2x6 lumber that fits under the strut. Place and fasten it in the middle of the strut length and extend it to the vertical plank to support the strut. After assembling the wall brace, give it an overall inspection to make sure it is still level and all of the components are securely fastened. In most cases, bracing can be removed 7 days or so after the wall is built. One common practice for removing the bracing is to remove half the bracing after the necessary curing time. The other half is left in place until the wall can completely support itself. This frees up much of the lumber or rental products to be used on other parts of the job. During the wall brace removal process, do your best to protect the components from being damaged. Carefully pull all of the nails from the wood and stack the reusable material for use in another location area for proper storage. While working a masonry construction job, never lose sight of the importance of proper bracing. A solid brace can produce a much better finished product and reduce the chance for injury on the job.